Huntsville International Airport says the holiday weekend brought more travelers. This just shortly after the FAA approved their 2020 master plan. The airport is required to release a master plan every 5 to 10 years to accommodate growth in the area, but the changes will happen years from now. Some things listed in the plan: expanded parking options, terminal spaces, and cargo holds. Huntsville International serves more than 1 million passengers a year. Of course, those numbers have been lower during this pandemic, but we're told there was an increase of travelers over the Labor Day weekend.
We don't have the information back from the airlines. It takes weeks and months to get that information in after a holiday. But what we do have are our eyes on the airport. And so what we saw at the airport was an increase in traffic. It looked more normal. It looked the way you would expect the airport to be before pandemic.
She tells us the airport asked residents and business executives from new companies coming to Huntsville which nonstop flight locations should be added to flight route lists. For more on the master plan, head over to rocketcitynow.com.